Yo, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So it hasn't even been a week since I worked on the 350Z. Last video I dropped the differential and welded it, but last night I was on the way home and the clutch pedal went all the way down. So I checked the clutch fluid and it didn't have any, so I added some right now and I am gonna bleed it to see if that's the issue. If not, I'm gonna drop the trans because I did notice that under the trans it's a little bit wet. So I don't know if it's the rear main seal leaking or it's the slave cylinder. So I already ordered a slave cylinder from the dealership, so I'm gonna try to bleed the clutch right now before I take down the transmission and see if that helps. All right, pump it 10 times and then hold it. All right, pump it. So I already bled the system a few times and it's still the same thing. Like, you press it in and it comes up slowly, but it's just pretty much not holding pressure. So I'm gonna put the car in the garage and just start dropping the trans. So it barely wants to go into gear, but I actually got into reverse. So as soon as I barely try to let it go, it already engages. So hopefully the clutch and everything else is good. So I'm gonna just change the slave. See if I can get it into first gear. Yeah, because the clutch, the pedal's actually all the way down right now, so I can't even. Let me see. Yeah, see, if you force it, it does go into gear. All right, so I already got the car up on jack stands, but I want to show you guys the jack I'm gonna use. I was just gonna use a regular jack, but this is a transmission jack. I got it from Harbor Freight, but pretty much like it's the same thing, but it has a strap around it and it has this thing to adjust the height. So to pretty much to align the transmission when it's going, once it's going on, or to take it out, you can adjust the height, so it's going to be way easier just to align. So yeah, this is actually going to help me do it way quicker. So the first thing I was going to do was drain the fluid on the transmission since it's going down anyway, but I wasn't able to get the fluid in time, so I am just going to drop the trans and then do the service once I'm done. But I believe this is the fill plug and this is the drain on this one. So I'm going to start by taking out the Y pipe. There's two 14mm bolts on each side, and then same thing on this side. So I'm going to take this off and then I'm going to go to the drive shaft. All right, so now that the Y pipe is off, I'm gonna take out the drive shaft, and it is just 4 17mm bolts and nuts. All right, so now for the drive shaft to come out, this thing's in the way, so I'm gonna take out these 14mm. There's 2 4, and then I believe there's some in the back, and I'm gonna take out these covers as well. All right, so I got this thing down. So there was actually 3 12mm bolts on each side on the back. All right, so after I took off that brace, it still wouldn't come out because of the exhaust is aftermarket. So if you have stock exhaust, I'm pretty sure it'll come out like that. But I had to lower the sway bar pretty much on both sides. I took off both 12mm bolts on both sides. So now it'll actually come out. All right, so now that I got all that stuff out the way, I can lower the transmission by taking off the mount. So first, I'm gonna take off the stuff at the top. So I'm gonna take off this cover, the shifter, and then I'm gonna see what else I have to do to take off the linkage. So you just unscrew the shift knob, and then you pop this up, and then you disconnect the emergencies and the climate control. All right, so now I'm gonna take off these 4 10mm bolts holding it. All right, now that that's off, there's 3 bolts right here. So this, you gotta take off this cover first. All right, so now it's another 3 10mm bolts holding it. Oh, I dropped one. Okay, so I'm already at the bottom. This is the shifter from the bottom. And you just have to take off this bolt. This is the last thing holding the shifter together. So once you take this off, you can lower the trans. All right, so this little bracket also might be in the way, so I'm gonna just take it off. It's 2 12mm bolts. All right, so before I bring in the jack, I'm gonna take off this harness. So to remove these connectors, I'm gonna take off those 2 10mm bolts up there, just holding the harness, this 10mm bolt right here. And then I'm gonna take off these O2 sensor connectors. And this one's a neutral safety switch, and then this one back here. And that pretty much should be it for the harness. All right, so I also noticed that this cover is going to be in the way to take off the bell housing bolts in the bottom. So I'm going to just take it off now before I bring in the jack and it's in the way. All right, so I'm gonna start taking off the bell housing bolts, but it's up to you if you want to take off this cover or not. I'm not gonna take it off. I think I can just get them off like this, but if you want to make it easier for yourself, you can take it off. All right, so I'm gonna take off these two 14mm bolts holding the bell housing, and then I'm gonna take off these other two holding the starter. These are the ones coming from the motor side. All right, so I already took off these 4 bell housing bolts. Those were the bottom ones, and then at the bottom there's only 2 more. There's one right here, another one up here, and then it's just the 17mm up there. Alright, so I already got the trans supported. I'm gonna take off these 14mm bolts holding the whole mount. Instead of taking off this one, just take off the trans mount. I'm gonna take off the whole thing because I'm not changing the trans, so I'm gonna just leave everything on. Alright, so now that I got it hanging like 2 to 3 inches, it gives me enough space to get all the bell housing bolts on top. So you can see there's 2 17mm bolts right here. There's another one right there, and there should be 2 more up there, and then the same thing on the other side. All right, so the bell housing bolts on top, they are pretty up there, so I'm using this 17mm swivel and this long extension to get to them. All right, so I'm gonna take off the top bolts first because the side ones are pretty easy. So once I have the trans jack strapped up and everything, I'm gonna take off. All right, so I almost have all the bell housing bolts off, just that there's one up there on the top right that's not coming off no matter what. It's pretty much just seized on there. So I did run out of PB blaster, so I'm gonna go get more right now. And I'm gonna just let it soak for a little bit, and hopefully that takes it out. If that doesn't take it out, I'm gonna try to use a torch, but hopefully that does work because I don't wanna use the torch up there. I know there's fuel lines up here by the intake manifold, so I don't even wanna get a torch under there. Alright, so I just picked up some PB blaster. Hopefully this shit works, man. I'm doing a little pull. Yeah, clutch is slipping bad on this right now. Alright, so that bolt finally came off. Now I just have 1 bolt on this side on the bell housing. Then I have 2 on this side. So I'm gonna just take out this one, and then I will bring the jack. I almost forgot I gotta take out this little clutch line as well, so this is just a little 10mm right here. There you go, pry it right now. Okay, hold up.
Okay.
Okay, it's coming out. Let me pry it from over there, from the back. There we go. Start out. Alright, so while taking out the trans, I realized a couple things. First, this is not OEM. The slave is not OEM, so I'm not going to be able to use the one I got. Because this is the one I got. This is an actual Nissan one. I got it from the dealership. And it has the stock lines. And this one, it looks like they used to T. This is aftermarket. And it looks like they replaced it not too long ago. So I don't know if this is what went bad. But pretty much, I don't know if you can see all this as well. All this stuff is off the clutch. So I'm not gonna be able to put the trans back on today at all. Because I'm not gonna be able to either change the slave or get a new clutch today. So right now I'm about to see if I'm about to take off the clutch right now and see how bad it is and see what happened. I don't know if this went bad or the actual pressure plate went bad, or I don't know what messed up first, but I'm gonna take off the clutch right now and see how bad it is. Alright, so you can see the flywheel's pretty bad. The whole thing is warped, but the clutch is worse. Let me take it out and show you guys. Alright, so you can see this side is actually, you know, yeah, it's pretty bad, you know, some wear or whatever, some tear. But then boom, you see this side, it's pretty much nothing left. I have no idea how the thing was even moving, but it wasn't slipping or anything. That's why it's weird. Like, it wasn't slipping, it just wouldn't go in gear. Like, it just stopped going into gear, and the pedal felt like pretty weird. So I think what actually messed up was the pressure plate. But yeah, you can see like it was just, it looks like a rotor, so it's pretty bad. So yeah, I'm gonna have to replace pretty much the pressure plate, the actual clutch disc. I'm gonna replace the flywheel as well, and I'm gonna try to get another slave cylinder. I'm gonna try to get this brand and just return the one I got. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and order everything online tonight, but I think I am gonna make this into a 2-part video since the parts will be here in like the next week or two. So whenever everything comes in, I'll just record the next part. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.